Well, my boys are adopted. Their mother had abandoned them when they were quite young. And then subsequently the boys were farmed out to housekeepers who abused them and treated them very poorly and beat them quite a lot. By the time they came to me at 6 going on 7 and 8 going on 9, they came with a lot of baggage. For both boys, when they came at 6 and 8, they were still bedwetting. For the 6, that's probably okay to have accidents, but for 8, it's unusual. Oh, perhaps not. But that continued on till he was 10 and 11. Stealing, lying, stealing food, which I could understand because there was a lot of anxiety about whether food was available for them. A lot of poor health, unsanitary behaviour that usually a child has lost by a very young age was still with these boys. Their interaction with their peers was very aggressive, very bullying, very violent quite often. How they related to each other was also quite violent and difficult. Love was not something that they felt comfortable with in the slightest. And so you get caught up in this game of going to see doctors and more doctors and more doctors. The money's pouring out of your bank accounts to these people, and you're putting your kids on medications that just really make you feel uncomfortable. We'd had ADHD, ADD, CD, epilepsy, etc., etc., etc. You name the disorder, the kids had been classified with that. The first meeting with Ken was probably an incredibly dramatic meeting for me, in the context that he was very straight and very deliberate. He sat with a clipboard with a piece of paper on it for 10 minutes and studiously listened to me sprouting off all of the problems about the kids. And it was literally 10 minutes before he said, "Stop now, that's enough. I can tell you the rest of the story." And he basically told me, almost in a clairvoyant way, exactly all the steps that I had taken. I said, "How do you know this?" He says, "That's what they all do." And I bet it didn't solve a thing. I said, "It hasn't solved a thing." I said to him, "So, okay, what do we do at this point?" He said, "I'll tell you what you're going to do." And this was in particular with the older boy. He said, "The older boy's not cooperating, and that's the problem. He's so caught up in his own hurt that he's no longer listening, he's no longer cooperating. And unless you have his cooperation, you're never going to get anywhere with him." So off we went and we did exactly what he said. And within an hour and a half, the problem was solved. And the boy was already different. It was about listening to him and getting him to tell us what he wanted. We weren't listening. I suppose we were busy trying to help him. We weren't actually listening to him. And we weren't letting him make decisions for himself and guiding him. It was more an urgency to protect and to find a way to solve the problem for him because, he's young and he doesn't know. In actual fact, we were wrong. And following Ken's way of positive behaviours and encouraging the child to choose positive behaviours has had a very positive outcome. It was a bit of an eye-opener, a bit of a shock, because it worked so fast. Honestly, within 24 hours, both boys were different. It actually changes the dynamic from drama into fun. So your interactions with the children are a lot more fun, because their choices are better. What I've discovered in the time that we've been using Ken's Way with the boys is their levels of responsibility and self-esteem has grown massively. So let me give you an example. Last night I was late for a dinner. My youngest son had started preparing dinner and cooked dinner, the entire dinner, for the household by the time I'd got home at 6:30. And he'd made a beautiful spaghetti bolognese and had just gone ahead and done it. And from that, his enjoyment of doing that has stemmed into, Mum, I really like cooking, I think I'd like to own a restaurant one day. And so you turn this broken child who couldn't speak English when he first came with all of these problems into someone who has dreams and visions and hopes for a future. I should add, he's also a top performer in school. He's topped both terms and he's topped in 5 subjects at school as well. He's loved by his friends and the school teachers, and it's just a total transformation. But it's a very simple process in using what Ken's basically taught us in how to parent better.